Hello, salam sejahtera, and kopi bosian. My name is Mayabayu. It's great to be here, and welcome to my TED Talk. I have three major ones that I would like to share with you, and hopefully, whatever I've learned throughout the years will help you in your daily journey, or the journey you're on right now. So yeah, my earlier influences are definitely folk singer-songwriters and monopolized by females like Jewel, Carole King, Joni Mitchell. And as a brief overview, I actually moved to KL to pursue my tertiary studies in Taylor's University. So I took mass communications, which will come in handy, but I will elaborate later on. I have been active in the music industry here in Malaysia for, I would say, 5 years. I didn't get my start in Sabah. I released my first single back in Sabah, yeah, actually. It's called Honeydew, and it was on the hits Borneo English Top 10 for, I think it was like 3 months or something. It was at the top, and I still get people like asking me to perform that song nowadays. But after releasing that single, I went quiet in Sabah, and I started my career mostly in KL. So about this topic, right, I tell you that I have come across a lot of crossroads throughout my life, but there are three main major ones that I would like to tell you today. And the first one is actually moving to Kuala Lumpur. It's a big issue in my family, obviously, and I'll let you know later on. The second crossroad is becoming a full-time indie musician or not. And the third one is changing my stage name, or like changing my persona almost, from Beverly Matujal to Mayabayu. So yeah, three of that. So you can see from the picture how it's going and how it started. Okay, the first crossroad is actually moving to Kuala Lumpur itself, because the reason why it's such a big issue is because I'm the first of my immediate family to actually venture out of Sabah and like study outside of Sabah. So most of us just go to UMS or like Inti College, but I was the first one to say bye to Kota Kinabalu and actually start somewhere like where I didn't have any relatives and stuff. And back then, obviously, it didn't seem like a big issue to me, but now in hindsight, when I think about it, I was like, if I were my parents, I would like throw a big hissy fit as well. So the background of it was I've always wanted to do music, obviously. That was the end goal. I was telling you, I was tinkling away on the pianos at 11, dreaming myself as the next Sarah McLachlan, who was really popular back then. And my parents, my dad especially, because he is like a singer through and through inside, but banker by day. And my parents have always been super supportive of me, but they sort of gave me a proposition. Basically, I had to get like a plan B. Almost, I had to have a backup plan in case my music career didn't pan out, which in Malaysia, that happens. So they were saying I have to pursue like a degree in a different subject other than music, and yeah, just in case I wanted like an out. And back then I was like, yeah, anything just to get out of Sabah and like start doing music, because back then in Sabah, like people weren't like really receptive towards original music, and you can only get gigs for singing cover songs or top 40s, which can be fun sometimes, but when you're an artist and you want to achieve something, it's really hard. So I knew I had to get to Semenanjung somewhere, somehow, or rather, and I knew my foot at the door would be through, studies. So I studied public relations and event management in Taylor's University in August 2013, and it turned out to be the best decisions ever because I learned so much. I met so many people who are friends who are not necessarily in music, but they have shaped me as a person to become who I am today. And yeah, I would say that crossroad, like going through it, it wasn't easy. It wasn't as easy as I expected, because I was, like I said, I was the first of my family to actually go out. And I think just the thought of like leaving everything I was very accustomed to, it was something like, it was a big shock to me. Like the first time I landed in KL and I got into a taxi, and the taxi driver, I still remember to this day, like I was talking to him in BM kan, and then he was like, "Oh, are you from Sabah ke?" So I was like, "Yes, I'm from Sabah," like in Malay, of course. And then he was like, "Oh, do you know that when you come here, you have to adapt to our culture, you have to adapt to the way we speak Malay, you can't always speak your logat." So I still remember until this day, like that bit of discrimination was like such a huge culture shock to me, because like in Sabah, like all of us are really integrated, and we're really understanding of everybody and where everyone comes from, and there's not really much discrimination. But yeah, just coming here, it was a bit like, oh, all right, it's very interesting. But I'm glad I got through it, because the reason why I decided, yes, I need to move to KL no matter what, is because I was young. And I had a tight support system to fall back on just in case like things go sour. And to achieve dreams, you gotta make sacrifices every now and then. Like everyone knows this, right? This was the sacrifice I was prepared to make, like being homesick almost every day, and just thinking about my parents and my brother and everything, and all the food back in Sabah. Such a huge sacrifice, to be honest. But yeah, I had a dream, and I was prepared to do everything in my might to like achieve it, and I had nothing to lose, basically. Yeah, so whilst I was studying, that's where I started like going to gigs, meeting people, connecting with people, and through Moonshine Open Mic, that's where I met Reza Saleh, who is now with Cendana, a government initiative to give funding to independent musicians. So if you're an independent musician, do check Cendana out, because they've helped me in so many ways. And Reza Saleh is the first person to take a chance on me and start giving me gigs, to perform in KL. And that's how I got my foot in the industry. And you can see in the picture, this is my first open mic. That's where I met Reza Saleh. You can see Abang Reza there over there with his phone, not really interested, but he still gave me gigs. Okay. And all right, so that was my first crossroad. It was like a mini crossroad, right? So the second crossroad that I, faced is to become an indie musician or not. So that's a huge one, because this happened post-graduation, 2017. I had to decide whether to go back to Sabah or remain in Kuala Lumpur. And it was like a whole situation of what now? I have to decide between having a stable full-time job or pursuing my passion, but in a volatile industry, right? So this crossroad has always been a long time coming. Like I knew I was gonna do music, but at that time, that was the moment I had to choose for real, like whether I wanted to jump into the unknown or not. And becoming a musician means saying goodbye to Sabah for a while more, where before in uni times, the distance felt a bit like temporary, and I could like withstand it. I could go back anytime. But becoming a full-time indie musician in Kuala Lumpur is a full-time job thing. Like you can't ever go back for holidays, because you have gigs on holidays and stuff. And needless to say, I decided to become an independent musician, because the same reasons as the reasons I gave before. It was because I had nothing to lose, and I knew that I had to sacrifice in order to achieve my dreams. And it also helped that I put like a short-term goal, so that I could stop overthinking about my future, and also thinking about like, oh, whether 10 years on I would regret this decision. So what I did was set short-term goals, which at the time was to create an EP, which is like a mini album. And that mini album became my first record ever. It's called Echoes. And yeah, I never looked back since. And you can see in the picture, that's actually the two women are my producers. I work with a lot of women producers, like unintentionally though. But yeah, I'm really proud of them, of the work we put out together. And you can see the cat, which is the studio cat at Melodia Recordings, where we recorded Echoes. And that is Faiz Rosli, the principal engineer who recorded the album. And yeah, so it was actually what I would say like my tertiary studies really helped me as a musician as well, because everything I learned in uni came in handy while planning out the showcase for the first mini album Echoes. And I did everything. So I did the CD artwork, my own public relations strategy, like liaising with media partners from Hits FM and The Star, The Sun. And yeah, it was all me. So looking back, just thinking about it, I was like, oh, I managed to do so many things just because I was focusing on this short-term goal and not really, not really harping on what's to come in like 5 years or 10 years or whatever. But I feel like nothing I ever did on my whole journey up to that point was a waste. So that was when I knew that everything happens for a reason, and I made the right choice. And these are some pictures from my launch. So you can see it was held in Merdeka, and quite a lot of people came. Oh, just looking at it makes me emotional, but okay, let's move on before I cry. Okay, then the last and most important crossroads so far that I came across and that really made an impact on me as a person is changing from Beverly Matujal to Mayabayu. And okay, this happened about like October 2019. And it was after, I think, 2 years past my album release, the EP, Echoes EP release, and I have gotten a bit of traction in my career as a singer-songwriter. And after 2 years of performing in the industry, I came across like this lowest point in my career, right? It was a mental block like no other, and I had no motivation to do anything basically. It's just seeing the insides of the industry, of what they expect female singers and like artists should be. It was very disheartening, and that took a toll on me mentally because I lost myself and I didn't know who I was and what I was doing music for. So at that point, I've been labeled as a typical indie singer-songwriter who hid behind her guitar and stuff, and it was really getting me down. And I was also convinced that I needed to follow trends and embody what was hot and like throw away what was not, like all your songs cannot be over 3 minutes, those kind of thinking. And at the time, I wanted to sound as Western and international as possible, whatever that meant. Because to me, everybody who did that was getting the success and the traction that they needed, that I wanted, and that, I needed, I felt like at the time. And in the end, I started to feel like an imposter. And that's when I met Ashwin Gobinath from Nadir, which is a 7-piece fusion band. They were looking for a lead singer at the time and wanted me in the role. And I said yes, just to get away from the mundaneness of being Beverly Matujal at the time. And the thing about Nadir is like everybody comes from different walks of life, different cultures, different religions, different races. And I was the Sabahan representative in that very truly Muhiba band. And when Ashwin asked me to include elements of my heritage into the music, it started a fire in me almost. Because being in Nadir, it gave me confidence to be unapologetically Sabahan, not just as a normal singer-songwriter, but as who I am on the inside, and performing all across Malaysia with Nadir as like a Sabahan, like doing all the just owning who I am as a Sabahan. It was bringing me back to life again after years of trying to sound super Western and super international. And I realized there were a lot of things that I didn't know about my own heritage, and it was such a shame. And one day I woke up with a purpose after realizing all these things, that I wanted to make a record that would make the people of Sabah proud, or like 10-year-old me or 11-year-old me who started songwriting proud. And that record eventually became Promised Land. And that's when I stumbled across Crossroad number 3, which is to switch from Beverly Matujal to Mayabayu. And the changing of my stage name is actually such a huge deal because I had to consider starting from 0 followers or like 0 subscribers, losing any potential gigs, losing loyal listeners, and also straying further from the mainstream, which I've always been worried about. But At the time, I felt like it was what I needed to do. And needless to say, I feel like I made the right choice and I don't regret it because I took a leap of faith into the unknown and like I challenged myself to grow, and I was rewarded for it because I became the sole female finalist in Levi's Music Project Malaysia. And my song Oh Sayang actually gained more traction in the mainstream media because of its uniqueness and the inclusion of three languages: English, Bahasa Malaysia, and also Kadazan. It's like it's nothing anyone's ever heard before, and that uniqueness alone was able to draw more followers and also listeners from all over Malaysia, which I've been trying so hard to achieve, but I didn't until then when I took the leap of faith. And you can see this is Oh Sayang, the music video, and Predator music video, where I highlight my East Malaysian heritage, Kadazan. All the dancers you see are from Sabah, and the videographer is from Sarawak, Miri Sarawak. So it's all like a very East Malaysian project for Promised Land. And more importantly, by discovering and reconnecting with my roots, I discovered who I am on the inside. I was able to collaborate with so many East Malaysians for Promised Land, which I hope helped in bringing more East Malaysians representation in the music scene. And becoming Mayabayu helped me to achieve that. With this confidence, I'm now comfortable with moving forward in my career, regardless of the image or which musical direction I wanted to go. But what's different now from before, where I tried to be more mainstream, right, is that I have the confidence to do so because I know who I am on the inside now. Because I know I'm a Sabahan girl, I'm Beverly Matujal at heart, but I'm Mayabayu on stage. And I know that going through all the crossroads is what shaped me into the artist that I am today. So I just like to leave you guys with some words of encouragement. When you come to a crossroad, to be honest, there is no right or wrong decision. The most important thing is that you be brave and have conviction in choosing, and believe in yourself and work hard, and everything else will fall into place and you will get to achieve your goals. And yeah, so that's basically all I want to share today. Thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you for enjoying my TED Talk. Bye.